Hi, I'm author Nancy Flinchbaugh. In August of 2023, I traveled to Ghana to do research for a novel I intend to write. Recently, I interviewed my fellow travelers, and also I was interviewed myself by Chebrya Jeffrey. I invite you to listen as Chebrya Jeffrey interviews me about my trip. I'll talk about why I went to Ghana, what surprised me, what I enjoyed, and the highlights of my trip.
Well, I'm Chebrya, but today isn't about me. You went to Ghana recently.
Yes.
What motivated that? Why'd you go?
Well, I am writing a book about race and political division. I really believe we're all in this together. And as a Christian, I think we need to come together as a country. So I wrote this book, Revelation in the Roots, Emerald Isle. And when I was pitching it to my publisher, I said I would do 3 books. So this is the first book, Revelation in the Roots, Emerald Isle.
Hmm.
And then I've written Revelation in the Roots, the Sea Island. And then I want to write Revelation in the Roots, West Africa. And so, in order to write that third book, I need to go to West Africa.
Hmm.
And when an opportunity presented itself, my friend Selena Singletary told me she was going to Ghana and she was going to the Cape Coast Castle as part of the trip to Ghana. I thought, oh, that's where I want to go. She
Hmm.
said, you should come. So we started talking about it and
Yeah.
we went to West Africa last August with Black and Abroad tour.
Okay.
Very
So what did you learn? Any surprises?
well. At first, I was told not to drink the water. I had to get a typhoid vaccination, and I went to the health department over in Montgomery County. Don't drink the water. So I was really kind of nervous about this trip because I need a lot of water. I drink it all the time.
Yeah, same. What is it? 60 milliliters, something like that.
Yeah, and I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to dehydrate, going to Africa,
Mm.
it's going to be hot. I'm not going to be able to drink water.
Just thinking about it's making you thirsty now.
But that was just so absolutely not my experience in Africa. The
Mm.
things you worry about, a lot of them don't happen. And this is
Mm.
one of them. Well, first of all, we were staying in a 5-star hotel.
Yep.
So they filtered the water in the hotel, plus
Uh,
water bottles in our room. And when I asked if I could have a few extra, because I thought there were only 2 and I probably was going to need more, then every day they started bringing more bottles up. I had plenty of
we
water.
got too much water.
Yeah, and they had this huge swimming pool. My husband said it was the biggest pool he'd ever seen at a hotel.
Mm.
It, went was the whole length of the hotel. So I enjoyed swimming in the pool. I enjoyed bathing in my bath and shower. And we had plenty of water in our hotel, but also when we went out on our tour bus, they had a bottles of water. Of course, I always carry my own bottle of water with don't like to use bottled water. So I didn't even have to do that because I could use the filtered water from the hotel.
Mm.
And I guess another thing that really surprised me was just the history of Ghana. I had tried to read about it in preparation, and one of the things I learned about was the first president after they gained independence from Britain, um, Kwame Nkrumah.
Mommy.
Yeah, I was reading about him. He was quite impressive, but then the book I read about him said that he became a dictator and there was a coup to overthrow him because he was, after a while, he just tried to take too much power. Well,
Mm.
got there and actually went to his memorial where there were school children, like classes of school children walking all around this memorial. And our
Mm.
tour guide said that actually, he did so many good things for Ghana and he wasn't in power a long time. He took over in 1957, and one of the things he was concerned about was the natural resources were being used by corporations, and he wanted them for the people.
Mm.
And that was what upset some of the corporations in America and led to his overthrow. But during the time, he really promoted education for everybody. good health care. They developed hydroelectric dams and created this huge lake, which still provides the electric needs for the country. So that was,
Wow.
what I read versus what I learned, was there's a big discrepancy there.
Hmm. Do you think it's a sort of revisionist history, or do you believe that he actually was a good president? It was just some sort of miss.
It's hard for me to make that determination, but knowing the narrative about capitalism versus socialism, I
Mm,
I think, that was probably the truth, was that he was trying to do the best he could for his country.
mm,
But he, was, after he was overthrown, he had to live in exile the rest of his life. So it's very
okay.
sad. But he still left such a large footprint on Ghana, which still benefits from the things that he did today.
Yeah, like you said, the dam is still making the electric.
Yeah, their
Wow.
two dams
Crazy.
still provides all the electric.
Mm,
Yeah.
wowzers. Okay, so you're writing this book and you know you have to go to West Africa and you get your chance, your big break to go to Ghana. What did you do there? What are some of the highlights?
Well, there were so many. One of the things I witnessed was the naming ceremony where the diaspora, those people with African ancestors in our group, received their African names. And then we visited the Cape Coast Castle where Africans were kept in dungeons, kind of as holding cells, to be shipped like cattle to the Americas. And I guess this ugly history, this ugly chapter of history came alive as I saw the places where it actually happened. And that left a heavy impression on me. And I also saw parts of the natural world. We visited a rainforest and walked in the tree canopy. We rode in canoes. I got to swim in the ocean and rode on a horse on the beach.
Right on.
And just seeing the love of education. Everywhere you went, you saw signs about schools. And talking with the children, I got to kind of teach a class for a few hours. And I
On
was,
what?
well, mainly I was telling them who I was, and
Mm,
they were asking me questions about me. But they were just so gentle and kind to me, and they really, made me laugh and smile, and they had a lot of really good questions. And
mm.
then I think visiting the historical sites, I mentioned the first president, but also we visited the home of W.E. Du Bois, and he moved to Ghana when he was in his 90s.
I did not know that. So the
Yeah, to
black
create
folk.
an encyclopedia. And
Wow.
that was just a really cool museum where they had pictures of other people who had done great things in their lives on the wall. And it was just very inspiring, somebody that can move to another country when they're 90 years old, and then all the other leaders that were on their portraits and things on the walls. It just made me think, Nancy, you can still do some things too.
I know that's
Yeah.
right.
And I just wanted
Yeah.
to do something significant with what I learned in Ghana, so yeah, there are a lot of other things, but those were some that stood out.
Yeah. Talk about the culture a little bit. What did you connect with the Ghanaian culture?
Well, I think the resilience of the people, their focus on education and their hospitality, they were very friendly to me. And I know sometimes white people aren't aware of their whiteness, but no, I didn't. I was,
I know you was
yeah,
away over there.
I
You might
was
have been.
definitely white, and almost everybody else around me was black, but they
Yeah.
were still friendly to me, just the way they were friendly to everybody else. We had good food. We had a cooking class. I really enjoyed the bright colors of their clothing, and we got to make some batik fabric. You see some of it right behind me. We
What's it called?
batik, Batik, batik
Batik.
fabric, but it's a process where you start with these big sponges and you dip them in a melted wax and
Mm,
stamp them onto the cloth. And then you put them into a big bowl where first they hang it up and let the wax dry. Then you put it into a bowl where you melt the wax off. Or you first, I'm getting confused here. You dye it, you let it dry, stamp it, let it dry, then you dye it. So it's in like the red dye,
Okay, okay.
it hung up again, and then after that dies, then they put it back in a really hot bowl that melts the wax off so that you can see the designs, and
Ah,
use several more bowls and let it dry.
so are these wax stamps?
The stamp is the stamp is made more like a sponge, and then the wax is liquid wax. So you put the sponge in the liquid wax, and then
Ah, yeah.
stamp it onto the material. So the wax is wet. It looks just like it's wet when you put it on there. It's just wet. The design is wet, and
Okay.
the sponges are cut, and so the sponges are cut in all the different designs.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it was very cool. We got to participate in that and make our own fabric. And I want to make my fabric into something, but haven't quite figured out what I'm gonna. It's been so long since
Yeah.
I am sewed. I enjoyed the drumming and the dancing. We had a couple times we had performances, but also at the naming ceremony, when we came down, we went up to this room where the tribal elders met us. And I was like, as a white person, I was a witness because I
Mm.
don't know of any African ancestors. But when we came back down, the drums were drumming and they were taking a picture of all the African Americans, and this woman wanted to dance with me,
Mm.
so I got to dance with this woman at, celebrating the naming.
Okay.
That was very cool.
Can you
But
show us a little something, something?
what'd you say?
Can you show us a little something, something? Give us a couple moves,
Well, she was just kind of dancing around. But another time when we were down at the beach after the Cape Coast Castle, we went out to the beach and they had a big drum group and they were singing. And then they wanted us to dance. And
Mm.
have you ever been in one of those situations where one person's dancing in the middle and everybody's around them? So it was like that.
Unfortunately, I have, yes.
And and one of the dances was a bird and a woman. It looked like a bird. So that's what I tried to do when it was my turn. I got in the middle and I was trying to
Yes.
dance like a
Okay, okay.
that white lady dancing like a bird. But it was, I loved to dance and it was just such a expression. So I enjoyed that. And I also liked the communal nature of the family there. One of the town we visited, which is right part of the capital, all
Mm.
the houses were off a common courtyard. And the family, like when you get married and have children, you live with your families,
Hmm.
usually with the mother's side of the family, but sometimes they said with the father's side. So you can move into a house and just live there with the rest of the family. So yeah, I just
Mm.
that was so cool that the
So
family.
it'll be like the mom, the dad, the grandma, grandpa, and the kids and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, and
Okay.
the elders are really respected, as the wise people, yeah. But
Mm.
everybody has their own little house, but then they do the cooking and the
Mm.
eating in the courtyard.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay. I've heard you mention this name ceremony like 3 times. Tell me more.
Yeah, so that is an intentional process that Ghana started a few years ago to welcome back the diaspora, the people, the relatives, the ancestors that were forcibly removed from Africa years ago. Now their kinfolk are coming back and they're being
Mm.
welcomed back. So at the Cape Coast Castle, there was always a door, which they called the door of no return, where the Africans were herded through the door out onto the beach and into the slave ships.
Mm.
Well, now on the other side of the door, they've said the door of return, and they are welcoming people back who have West African heritage to come
Mm.
back and so they're providing hospitality. And so this was a ceremony. The guy who worked at the Cape Coast Castle also met us in a small town where we went upstairs in the small building, and the tribal elders had a ceremony to give people their African names, which are based on the day of the week. And then there's a different one for men and women. And
Mm.
and they started with a libation ceremony, and then they said some things I couldn't understand at all, but then eventually they each got their name, And they named, and what was so cool was there were 5 people in our group that got names, and all of them said they just really resonated with who they were as people. And yeah, it's just kind of a spiritual experience that.
What were some of the names? I want to know.
Well, I can tell you the meanings of the names. I don't remember the actual names themselves, but like what I remember, it's like Selena, who went along with us. She was my boss, in human relations, housing, and neighborhood services at the city. Her name meant boss and family leader.
Okay.
She was a boss. She said, a leader in her family. And
Mm.
Blair, his name meant man of wealth. And I guess he just, is really wealthy, but also,
Got the money.
involved in financial things. His career is IT, but he's also found ways to make money and take care of money, and that's really important to him. And his mother, Diane, her name meant something about being strong and independent. I remember, I don't need a man, but
that's what she said.
I don't need a man. I'm strong and powerful in myself. And then Kita, his name meant man of God, and I guess he's one who prays, and I guess he's been a prayerful man all his life. And his wife, Adora, hers was fighter, and she said, "Oh, I've been fighting all my life." So it was just amazing.
Did anybody get a name that they felt like came out of nowhere? Like, did anybody say, "What in the world is this"?
No, I didn't. They didn't say that. I mean, maybe that happens sometimes. Later, Steve and I went on a tour one day, and we actually got to go on the boat on the lake by the dam. And our tour guide said he kind of lived into his name. He was given his name, and he was told the meaning.
Took him a while.
And it's kind of like, as he's grown, he's seen that that's who he's become. But it was just such a generous, hospitable act to welcome these people back into the land of their ancestors. And I felt honored just to be a witness and to experience that.
Okay. So you saw it. Would you go back? Would you recommend we go? What do you say?
Yeah, when I've written about a place, I've always gone at least twice. So maybe I'll go back. I know I certainly have a lot to learn. It was just a week.
Right.
And that's what I'm more aware of anything. I just don't know very much. It was also a very expensive trip, but God willing, I'd like to go back. And yes, I would recommend other people go. For white people, I think it's important for us to learn more about African cultures, and also about the history that brought Africans to America. I think it's so important not to hide that history, and I think we need to respect and honor the goodness of the African culture. And also, to say what happened was very evil and we don't want to repeat that. And so I would encourage other white people to go, especially on a learning journey. Now, I hear a lot of people, well, they want to go to Africa to go on a safari. And, I would like to see the animals, and we did see a few animals while we were there. But I think that racism is still such a huge problem in our country. I think like this kind of a trip might change a person. And, for the African Americans, well, I've interviewed them, and they want to move there and live there. Several of them, one of theirs planning to buy a house, and Dora and her husband, they just felt so whole when they were there. So yeah, I think it's great for African Americans, but I think white people too. And, I think what the African Americans experienced was all of a sudden they had no discrimination, everybody looked at them and they were welcomed, and they didn't feel that burden that they had felt all their lives living in the United States. But yeah, so I hope I'll go back, but it's taken me on a learning journey, and I'm trying to learn as much as I can.
Right on. You said you went with Black Travel or something like that? Who are they?
It's a tour company called Black and Abroad.
Black and Abroad. We can shout them out.
They are centered in Atlanta, and they take tours all around the world for Black people. So we were a bit of an anomaly, white people on a Black and Abroad tour. And, at the end, I said, were we supposed to come? And they said, well, we're a Black-centric organization, but we welcome everybody. We don't exclude anybody. But they, I guess, had never had any white people before on their public tours. They said they just sometimes do work for corporations and then they have more white people, but
Maybe you'll be the first of many.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think they really want their goal is to provide quality tour experiences for Black people, not for white people. So, I mean,
Right.
it didn't make me feel bad about being there, but I don't think that's their business plan, to help the white people go.
Yeah, maybe you're right.
And I can respect that, but it was a great trip. So I felt fortunate to participate. If you
Hmm.
look them up, you'll see it. If you follow them, they've got people all around the world. You can see them
Interesting.
traveling.
Maybe we can link up, Black and Abroad. Okay, well, do you have last words? Anything else you didn't get to share
No, just
that
to
you
say
want to
that
share?
I'm going to change my name to, I noticed I have my name as Steve Schlager here.
Do you? Oh, I don't even see your name. Oh, yeah, I do. Steve. You don't look like a Steve.
Yeah,
That's too funny.
Nancy Flinchbaugh.
At the end of the
Steve
video.
Schlager is my husband, and he went along with me, and I've also interviewed him about his trip. So thank you so much,
Beautiful.
Chebrya, for interviewing me today. And I
My
hope you
pleasure.
go to Ghana yourself one of
I
these.
hope so too.
Hi, this is author Nancy Flinchbaugh. Thank you for listening. I invite you to follow me on my website at nancyflinchbaugh.com and other various social medias. Please check out my book, Revelation in the Roots, Emerald Isle. I write for change, planting seeds for a just world where we work together to solve problems and respect the human rights of every person. Have a great day.